Without objection.
Without objection.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. Within the last hour or so, there was a decision by the Baltimore City State's Attorney, Marilyn Mosby, in the investigation of the death of Freddie Gray, a black man who died under questionable circumstances. Circumstances that kind of made us all wonder where the truth lies. Circumstances that cause young people and others to take to the streets across this nation. Circumstances that brought into a sharp, bright light the question of justice in America, the question of police misconduct in America, the question of mayhem in America, the question of poverty in America, the question of bias in America, Freddie Gray's murder, Freddie Gray's death, and the questionable circumstances around his death brought into sharp relief all these issues of race and living in an urban center. Brought into sharp relief, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, 50 years or more of abject, determined, callous disinvestment in our urban areas. 50 years of or more of joblessness, bad schools, bad housing, bad health care, 50 years of hopelessness. But in the last few minutes, Mr. Speaker, this brilliant, young, courageous African-American woman, Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, made a decision, and she decided that, yes, notwithstanding all the differences of opinion, the changed stories, the moving target, notwithstanding all of these things were happening, that she decided that Freddie Gray was murdered. Freddie Gray was murdered, and that she would indict the police officers who were responsible. And by indicting the Baltimore City police officers who were responsible for Mr. Gray's murder, she made a giant, enormous step for justice for young people, young African-American men and women, young people who live in our urban areas. by her decision today, just a few moments ago, she has done this nation an invaluable service, especially for young people, especially for the African American and other minority youth. These young people have for decades now sought and yearned for justice as it relates to police misconduct, police brutality, and yes, police murder. This new standard for justice is a standard that now transcends Baltimore, transcends even the entire state of Maryland. It transcends and it reaches to other points all across this nation. Ferguson, New York City, Chicago, Cleveland, other places all throughout this country. Mr. Speaker, as an African American male who represents the south side of the city of Chicago, I know firsthand about police misconduct, police mayhem, and police murder. I must say, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, rather, that in my 68 years living mostly in the city of Chicago, I have never seen the wheels of justice move so profoundly, so poignantly, and so purposefully as I have witnessed with Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosley's action. She's raised all kinds of standards. She's staggered the imagination of all of us who fight for justice, who want to see justice delivered in the true American way, who want to see an end to all the machinations and excuses and turning away, closing our eyes to police misconduct in our urban areas. This wonderful, courageous young city state's attorney has raised the standard for prosecutors all across our great nation. She's raised the standard for mayors and chiefs of police and other law enforcement officials. She's raised the standard for even those who are in this body. Open your minds, open your eyes, and see the truth. Let me just say right now, Mr. Speaker, that the police officers of this nation, the overwhelming majority of them, are good, hard-working defenders of the community. They're not lawbreakers. They're there to serve and protect, and we honor them and we lift them up. But it's a few who think that they can get away with all kinds of illegal actions just because they can get away with it because the system has a tendency and a habit of rising to protect even those who violate not only the laws of this nation, but the spirit of the laws of this nation. These laws that keep this nation together. These laws that make us have an identity as one nation under God. Indivisible, liberty and justice for all. These police officers, this minority of those on the urban police forces across this nation, these are ones that abrogate the Constitution, short-circuit our Constitution, short-circuit our quest for justice, our appeal for justice, and our right for justice, short-circuit those just for their thrill of the moment. Can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, being handcuffed and leg cuffed, laying down, face down in the back of a paddy wagon, driven not accidentally, recklessly, determined by those police officers who were driving, who had him in custody, to maim, harm, brutalize him. Different speeds. Driven by the driver of that van. Tossed them out because of sudden stops. You are in the back of a paddy wagon, handcuffed, leg cuffed, and these police officers getting a thrill out of tossing you around in a steel encased paddy wagon. Not caring about the broken parts of your body that might occur. Not caring about whether you really lived or died. Not even caring about the oath that they were sworn to when they were hired and when they took that oath to serve and protect. All those things became secondary to their thrill, seeing how much havoc and harm they could cause to this black man in Baltimore. Yeah, they thought they would get away with it. That no one would even think to question their decisions, their thrill-seeking, their conduct. But thank God, there is a woman in Baltimore who said to them, to all the police officers who are like-minded, such as them, said to this nation, no more, not this time. You're going to be indicted and you're going to be charged. And that's the way it is. Grieving mothers Mr. Gray's mother, his father, his relatives, his loved ones, his friends, his neighbors, can all now say that there will be justice for Freddie Gray. I said in Chicago, there will be justice for Freddie Gray. From this nation's borders, young people are rejoicing now that there is soon to be justice for Freddie Gray. Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Mosby's actions, her courage, her dedication, her commitment, her decisiveness has spoke to the ideal that's creating this movement for justice all across this nation. She's very clearly and profoundly and without hesitation spoken to all of us, to this nation. Her actions have shouted it out that black lives do matter, that black lives do matter, that all lives in America matters, and that black lives matters also. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back.